Welcome back, everybody, to yet another From Screen to Shelf review. I am Mr. Wallet Bully Extraordinaire, aka Chase. I am one of the three beautiful souls that make up this wonderful channel. I am here today to talk to you about the Prophecy 1, 2, and 3, courtesy of Vinegar Syndrome on 4K. This was a blind buy for me, so you're getting all first watch impressions, overall how I feel about the package. We're gonna go over here, take a look, unbox it, because Vinegar Syndrome's been on a roll with these, I like to refer to these as grilled cheese style boxes. So we're gonna dive into the transfer itself, how it looks, how it's presented, the audio, everything else in between. So without further ado, we're gonna head over here and come right back, and we're gonna dissect the set. See you soon. There it is, everybody. I like to refer to these, like I said earlier, as the grilled cheese style. There's the back art, there's the inner art. Christopher Walken, Prophecy 1, 2, 3, courtesy again of Vinegar Syndrome. So look at that. It's even got some inner artwork right along right here. Whenever you unbox it like that. Same with right there. You get the angel wings. Let's put that part of the grilled cheese right over here. Inner spine. There that is. Looking awesome. And then the slip. And then the case. Special features, restored from the inner positive, always lists it right there. And then the insides. Yeah. And then you do get 2 and 3, which I'll go into more detail about that. Yep, 2 and 3 right there. I'll go into more detail about that later. And I actually haven't checked, is there reversible? Oh my gosh, look guys, there's reversible cover art. I didn't even notice that. So that is nice as always, courtesy of Vinegar Syndrome. And so, without further ado, that is the unboxing of the Prophecy 1, 2, and 3, courtesy of Vinegar Syndrome. We're gonna head back over there and dissect this entire set. Let's go. What an awesome set. I am so excited you guys got to see that. Vinegar Syndrome is great at showing like live pictures and the whole 9 yards on their website itself. But it's always nice to be able to see it in hand, in video, and dissected like that. As I said over there, huge fan of how this is presented. I only have a couple of complaints about this set. Really, maybe just one. Really don't have that many, but we're gonna start diving into the Prophecy 1. If this is your first foray into these films like it was myself, essentially what this is about, at least, you can't really talk about what part 2 or Prophecy 2 and 3 are about, because each one is sequential, obviously 1, 2, and 3. But what I mean by that is directly how the first one ends is how the second one starts, and then how the second one ends directly how the third one starts. There's very little jumps, like you can't really talk about what it's like. I mean, I guess you can a little bit, but can't really talk about what it's like without spoiling what happens in the previous installment. So I'll be pretty loose talking about 2 and 3, but I'll give you a little bit of a dive about what number 1 is about. And essentially, to a degree, these movies, at least for me, were just a tad bit confusing. There's quite a bit going on. I was able to understand it for the most part. These are movies that definitely, I think, warrants a second watch, maybe even a third watch. I did manage to watch the third one twice because there was a lot going on and it was pretty kooky, awesome. But for Prophecy 1, this is restored by Vinegar Syndrome themselves from the 35mm interpositive. Typically, we prefer the negatives to be scanned and then presented to us. This is on a BD100 for the very, very first one. And as you saw over there, part 2 and 3 is on one disc, right? Prophecy 1 is on its own disc, which is cool. It's on a BD100. So the coolest part about Prophecy 1 is the whole setup. You have Christopher Walken as essentially an angel named Gabriel, who essentially wants to cause 2 hells, right? He wants to make heaven a hell, have hell itself, and have earth be the middle ground, and I guess you can say like the battleground,
like the middle ground and battleground. So it's pretty cool. There's some heroes that like you would typically perceive in a biblical sense as like villains that come in to save the day. So it's pretty cool, pretty awesome. You have Viggo Mortensen as Lucifer. Wonderful acting, great premise, just a really, really cool idea that was executed, I believe, fairly well. I had a great time with this movie, especially for a first-time watch. The audio is presented in a 5.1, its original stereo, I believe, stereo mix. So that was really, really cool. And then it also has a mono audio track alongside that. So does part 2 and 3. So I don't have to preface that again. These all have pretty much the same types of mixes from the audio tracks itself. The Prophecy 1 looked spectacular. It's not Transfer of the Year contender or anything along those lines, but it definitely looks wonderful for what it is and how they had to restore it. Also, on the BD that comes with this, on the Blu-ray disc, it does come with a making of the Prophecy that runs about 38 minutes. It has a couple of audio commentary tracks that are pretty engaging. I listened to some of them. I didn't get all the way through all of it, but I did watch a little bit of the making of the Prophecy because there were some really cool special effects that I really wanted to see if they dived into. They definitely did a little bit, not to the fullest extent that I wanted to, but I'm never going to complain whenever I get a 40-minute making of documentary or mini doc on any disc, right? That's always super exciting. As well, that's pretty much it. The Return of Edie, Making a Prophecy 2, they all have a making of on each of their corresponding Blu-rays. So overall, I'm going to give the transfer a high recommendation, especially for its price. As of the time of this recording, subscriber week for Vinegar Syndrome is currently live, and you can pick this up for $49.99. It typically retails, whenever I picked mine up, it was $65. So not bad, especially for 3 movies, you know, getting all the bonus features. Vinegar Syndrome does make the best Ultimate Collector's Editions out there without really having to advertise that they are a Collector's Edition. So that's the coolest part, I believe, of Vinegar Syndrome, is just how they essentially present their packages. It's really a wildly good time. And as I've become known around these parts for, I'm a huge Vinegar Syndrome fan and supporter. So yeah, Prophecy 1, massive thumbs up, great performances. Christopher Walken was awesome. There's a scene that will forever be ingrained in my memory and in my brain for the way that it was done. Not really spoilers, but he's in a morgue, and then like there's this part where he ignites a fire, and just the way that it happened when he snaps his fingers was just, it was just great. It was just wonderful. Had an awesome time, some really memorable scenes. Not really a lot of pacing issues. Has a pretty tight runtime for what's going on. Has a lot of exposition and a lot going on into the intertwining story. So Prophecy 2, again, can't really preface a lot about what it's about. I'll just give you bare bones thoughts without really going into the plot, because it directly picks up from Prophecy 1 with what happens at the end and then goes right into it. So I can't really kind of say other than Christopher Walken's Gabriel is just doing the same stuff. He's just still trying to do his thing, and, you know, things happen, stuff like that. I found Prophecy 2 to be a little bit weaker than 1. It wasn't as good of a time, but it was still definitely really solid, and I'm happy that they put it in a part of a set, right? Can't really complain in that department, but the sound, again, sounded crisp. The HDR looked wonderful, especially during some of the city and desert scenes. They looked really, really good on both Prophecy 1 and 2. HDR really helped elevate it, especially for the dark levels and like where the black is and stuff like that, and the shadows. Whenever they're in buildings, it really helps elevate that, especially for bright scenes as well. So it looked really, really good, Prophecy 2. It is on one disc, like I said earlier and during the unboxing, so you get Prophecy 2 and 3 on the very same disc. So it's cool, it's convenient, but at the same time, I know Vinegar Syndrome wouldn't do that unless there was genuinely a good reason. Now, again, these were restored from the inner positives and not the negatives, so they probably had some limitations in regards to the restoration work with what they were able to do. So Vinegar Syndrome would never probably do something like that, knowing how collectors are. They're collectors themselves, I'd have to assume, with how much love and support that they give the community and what they put out there, right? They're one of us, you know. They wouldn't be doing this if they weren't. So I know that they understand how we typically feel about things like that being put on one disc, but we really can't complain in this department. So now going to Prophecy 3. Prophecy 3, I had such a dumb fun time. Again, can't really tell you what's going on in this specific department because, again, all of these just directly correspond to the events. Christopher Walken's Gabriel is doing his thing. The thing I can tell you is that this is more or less about another angel Nephilim type of deal, and this person is kind of caught up in between a rock and a hard place and just trying to figure things out. And then Christopher Walken's Gabriel is still doing his thing a little bit differently. There's a part where Christopher Walken's Gabriel, I will never forget this scene. Look up a screen capture of this if I can't just put it right up here. But there's a part where he's just driving a car, listening to some music, and busts out a trumpet and just starts playing it to the tune of the music. And it was great. You know, those are the type of scenes and stuff that I live for. So really can't complain. It was awesome. It really was. Yeah, really can't complain about that. And then I do believe that this one does come with another one, The Making of the Prophecy 3. I did not get the chance to check that out, but all of them do have their corresponding audio commentaries. This isn't jam-packed, but also at the same time, I'd rather get making of mini docs that run 30 to 40 minutes than a lot of things where it's like behind the scenes, rinse and repeat, because we do get those on some other releases, not necessarily from Vinegar Syndrome because they understand, but you'll get like 10, 11 minute type of things where they really do preface the same thing and it becomes boring going through those special features. So at least the one I was able to check out for the Prophecy 1, that was a really cool dive into seeing how they wrote, directed, and built the world that they were trying to set their eyes to. And, you know, they were on a mission, and I definitely think that they accomplished. So overall, what I'm going to give this set is I'm going to give it about an 8 out of 10. The movies are really fun. The special features are really good. The packaging is awesome. It's not really what I expected, but I had a great time. I'm glad Vinegar Syndrome introduced me to these movies. I know that they were relatively known. I mean, not everybody knows about the Prophecy, but enough people were essentially able to, how do you say it, know what was coming out, right? So that's the cool part. So like I said, a strong 8 out of 10, a great presentation with the box, everything like that from Vinegar Syndrome themselves. Awesome. And without further ado, as we always like to end this, we did recently hit 100 subscribers, so we did really want to extend our hearts out to you and say thank you so much. We really thought that this would just be kind of a thing to look back and laugh at our own jokes and our conversations. We really didn't think that we would even get that far. I know that sounds kind of lame, but genuine, heartfelt thank you to you, the community, the Discord server, the Reddit, everybody for their overwhelming support and the great criticism that we've gotten. It's only pushed us to do better and everything like that. So please like, comment, subscribe. Let me know if you picked up the Prophecy 1 through 3. I'm curious. I'd love to start some dialogue. Did you like the movies? Was it a blind buy? Was it something that you just didn't have a good time with? Or was it something that you just loved? Is this your favorite Vinegar Syndrome release of the year? So let me know. Otherwise, I'll see you next time on yet another From Screen to Shelf review. See you later.